Louise Bedford here, your host of the Talking Trading podcast. This is how traders excel. I have just been interviewed by Daniel Marshall. Now, he is such a good interviewer. He dragged information out of me that I never usually talk about. He got me talking about fear and how I've visualized my fear and how it has helped me become a better trader. He got me to talk about money scripts and my background as a kid and how it's had such an impact on my life. Really, he's a magic maker. And I think you should have a listen to his podcast, Money Mastery. Money Mastery with Marshy is its full name, and it is so enlightening. He interviews people with such care, and it's fascinating to me how money mindsets can translate directly into trading profits. The studies aren't wrong. The more you work on yourself, the more you will actually develop trading prowess. So now is the time. Have a listen. I'm going to cut right into our conversation. I know you'll love it.
Welcome back to Money Mastery with Marshy. This is your host, Daniel Marshall. And in episode number 62 of the podcast today, I am joined by Louise Bedford, who is Australia's most prolific female author on books on the Sharemarket. She is the founder of The Trading Game and the Talking Trading podcast. She is a best-selling author of 6 books on investing and trading, and her latest one is Investing Psychology Secrets, which I recently had the pleasure of reading, which we'll be diving deep into today. Louise is also a behavioral finance expert with degrees in both psychology and business. And here's the crazy thing. Louise has been in the trading game since the year I was born, 1990. So that just shows her wealth of experience and knowledge in trading, investing, and finance. So I'm really looking forward to our conversation. And thank you for coming on, Louise.
My goodness me. Well, we have got a lot of areas to cover today, but you've just blown me away by thinking about the little baby Daniel with his amazing life ahead of him, going into engineering, having your own podcast, being so entrepreneurial. Oh my gosh, the future that you had as a little baby and the future that you still have now. I just love it.
It's pretty crazy, Louise. I guess that must be quite the perception, thinking back. The year I was born, you literally started your journey as a trader and on your money game.
Yeah, it's so true. And it was under such weird circumstances as well, because I was so ambitious and I was like this crazy little thing seeking out money and power. And do you know that actually sometimes can be a really good guide in life? What are the things that really appeal to you? What are the things that get your blood churning, that make you want it so badly that you can taste it, that you wake up in the morning just wanting that goal? So the share market for me was a means to an end.
Well, what I'm really curious to know, Louise, and this is fresh in my mind because I've been listening to a lot of Dr. John Demartini's work of late.
Yes.
And when he talks about values, what we value, he often talks about, a void in our life will create the value. So I'm curious to know, because you've gone down this path, was there a void that you experienced in your life, maybe when you were growing up, that led you on this trajectory?
Hell yes. We grew up poor, me and my 3 sisters. My mother was a saint. She sewed all of our clothes. She even sewed our bras. Now, there are very few people that I know that had sewn bras because we couldn't afford to buy bras. But then what happened when I was in year 11, it was just amazing, Daniel, because a big trade came in and Dad sold his business. All of a sudden, there was money coming into the family. We went out and literally grabbed bags like we were in the scene from Pretty Woman, bag upon bag of clothes. We bought winter coats. We did buy bras. We bought underwear. We bought a new house. Dad bought a boat. We had 2 cars. It was like the world opened up. And the year was 1985 for me, and it was so significant because I was heading into an area where if I had have continued with poverty thinking, I don't think I'd be doing what I was doing. That little inkling that there can be money there if you work hard and if you play your cards right, if you educate yourself, and if you really focus and expect those rewards to come. The lesson was right in front of my face.
Mm, mm. So who was it, Louise? Because obviously you had this void, you experienced, I guess, that scarcity mindset and growing up a little bit impoverished. Who was the guide? What was the inspiration? Who was the teacher? What was the book that really got you onto this path to help you change your thinking and ultimately change your financial results?
Yeah, there were quite a few. I think we can take mentors from a lot of different areas. My grandmother was a significant influence. She grew up really wealthy and they lost all of their money. And it was interesting because she had the sophistication. She had a few of the jewels from the olden times when things were really flush. And she really influenced my wealth mindset. So she always said, I've tried rich and I've tried poor, and I much prefer rich. So I think we all would. So she was an early influencer, but I did read my head off. And Dr. Harry Stanton, who I ended up writing a book with, he's unfortunately passed away now, but I read his book, The Plus Factor. My sister Valerie, when I said to her, and it was around about the time just before the money had come in from the markets for Dad, I said to my sister Valerie, I really want to run away from home. I'm so sick of this. I can't stand it anymore. I feel like I'm being stifled. And Valerie, in all of her wisdom, said to me, do you know what? I will back you, but you have to read this book cover to cover, and then you can come and live with me. And the book was Dr. Harry Stanton's book, and it's no longer available, but it was called The Plus Factor. It was one of the first positive mindset books in Australia, written by an Australian author. And I read that book and, oh my gosh, all of a sudden I went, I think I'll stay at home. I think I'll study, I'll do psychology, I'll do business, and I'm going to find a way around getting through what I felt was an insurmountable set of obstacles. So books have really been important to me all the way through, and they can be your mentor in surrogate in many, many ways. And I guess then when I started a job, like an actual job rather than trading, which isn't really like a job, it's like a business, but it's not a job, I had a wonderful, inspiring boss, Treve, and I'm still in touch with him. And he just believed in me so much that it just made me feel like I had to live up to his expectations. So yeah, there have been quite a few mentors over the years. What about for you, Daniel? Who have you been your mentors?
Oh, yeah, again, so many mentors for me, Louise. I feel like probably the biggest thing that shifted me on this trajectory, which I've mentioned, thousands of times, I feel. But yeah, when I was 24, Mum gave me the book, The Barefoot Investor. And that was the one where I really learned about compound interest and stock market investing. And that kind of, the penny went off for me, and that really took me on my path. And I guess my dad was always really good with money, like saving money. Yes. So I always, unconsciously, I almost feel like I inherited my dad's great money management practices, which have served me to this day. And even since a young age, Louise, I remember stacking coins when I was a kid, like stacking gold coins, silver coins. So I always felt like, I feel like our childhood can give us secrets to what we're going to become when we're older. And that was maybe one of the little hints for me.
I love that. I did the same. I had this little money box that had a skeleton and a hand that dragged claws into the actual grave of coins. So it kind of reached out and grabbed the money and pulled it backward. So yeah, I loved that money box.
Yeah, I remember reading that in your book, actually. I was like, oh, that's so funny, because I felt like myself and you were very similar in that sense, that you obviously had that affiliation from it from a young age.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's really important too, that we think about who we were as children, and we think not necessarily the specifics, but what's behind those specifics. So as a 10-year-old, what did you really love doing? What were the things that lit you up that you could have done where the hours just flicked past, that you didn't notice time going past because you were so involved? I think if we can grab a little bit of that and bring it into our current day, as an adult, you can really benefit from those things that you were naturally drawn to.
What was that for you when you were 10 years old, Louise? What did you love to do?
Look, I loved counting money. I thought I was going to be a wallpaper designer. So I loved drawing repetitive patterns on pieces of paper. Now, if you think of what a candlestick chart is, which is the thing I use to analyze the share market, they are repetitive patterns on a piece of paper. And I've worked out how to make money out of that. So, yeah, I do think there's a lot to be said for honoring who you were before society had its way with you.
Yes, I'm with you. I love having these conversations with people that I talk to as well, Louise, because I always feel like a lot of people are lost on their purpose, their mission. They don't know what really lights them up, or they think they don't. But when you kind of look back, you can really find the missing pieces and the things that are you're naturally drawn to from your childhood and from your teenage years.
And what do you advise them to do if they're not familiar with their purpose anymore? What do you suggest?
Yeah, I feel like we do know it. It's just it's almost like we put these limitations on ourselves consciously to like trap it. So I feel like whenever people say that, they actually do know it. It's through questioning, I can help them get back to that as well. And sometimes it will be going back to what did you enjoy doing as a kid. Or I love, Naval Ravikant's, he has a quote where he's like, what feels like play to you but looks like hard work to others. And I love to ask that question to people.
Oh,
yeah, because what we're doing right now for me, Louise, like interviewing people on this podcast, this feels like play for me. I could do this all the time. So for me, this gives me insights into what my purpose is. So I feel like it's just through asking questions and getting people to understand what's important to them, what they value, what they love doing, then they can start to get some clarity on their purpose.
Yeah, I want to pick up on that too, because with values, I think it's so key. I think as an adult, often we move away from our core values. So if you can know what your core values are, so for me, I'll tell you, it's love, nurture, and inspiration. So they're my 3 core values. So if anything that I'm doing for a long period of time takes me away from those values, that builds up tension. And it can actually make you sick because it can make you very sad. So I think that is one of the things to do as well. Question yourself about what are the things that you value the most and try and build your life around that rather than all of the things that our boss is telling us, that even our spouse is telling us, dare I say. So I think that can help as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like a lot of times people are unconscious of what they truly value. But if you look at your bank statements, if you look at your diary and your calendar, how you spend your time, then I feel like straight away you can get a pretty good insight into what someone currently values.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is powerful.
Yeah.
Now, tell me, Louise, because I myself, when I started, I was 24 when I started, I guess, my money mastery journey. And when it comes to money mastery with Marshy, Louise, just so you know, like money mastery to me is the journey of self-mastery. And there's so many aspects to that. So that's what it really means to me. But I went down the path of, I guess, long-term investing and value investing. And I guess the path you took was more the trading path. So I would love to know from your wisdom and experience, what is the difference between trading and investing? And do you do both, or is it just one or the other?
This is a basis here in accounting. So I want to take us away from that accounting question because I think you've got to get something that blends with your personality really well and then worry about the tax dollars later, because you're going to be considered differently from a taxation perspective, whether you're a trader or an investor. So let's just take that out of the question and then look at what suits you. So personally, I don't discriminate between trading and investing. I think every investor should have the money management principles of traders. So traders are thought of as having more frequent numbers of trades, maybe trading more markets, and having a business plan. Now, if you think of investing, I think investors should also chase the money. If there is a market that's booming, yes, investors chase that, even if your time frame is a lot longer than a so-called trader. And also, for the love of money, please put in risk management policies. Use a stop loss. Know when you're going to exit. Know when you're considered wrong. Because without that, you can hold on to an absolute dog for years, and you're in trouble then, because it has taken your hard-earned money and flushed it down the toilet. So I don't know about reinforcing these definitions in our mind. I would rather you become the purest market professional that you can possibly be, no matter what your time frame, no matter what instruments you choose to trade, and where those instruments are located.
Yeah, because I always see, Louise, like trading is more as a vehicle to make more money, whereas investing is more of a vehicle to, I guess, build wealth and accumulate wealth. So it's almost as if you make money from trading or whatever vehicle or business that you have, and then you put it into long-term investments. Is that how you think as well?
It is a good strategy, and most people will come up with some sort of sweet spot. So they'll either be really good at looking after the cash flow. So I've got a trading system that's a 4-hourly system. You don't have to, get in and out within 4 hours, but you're looking at 4-hourly charts. And some people love that thing. We've got this guy in PerthCon. He has mastered that beyond a shadow of a doubt. It is crazy. I would say, would be one of the best at trading that system. However, getting stuck in just that one way of cash flow, you can forget that there is a longer term goal. So, for a lot of people, what do they want? So I think what they want is not to have their chain yanked on by a boss. They want to be able to retire on their own terms when they want it. They want to be able to say no, because sometimes that word, it can be so powerful. So let's start with those goals first. What are the things that really appeal to you? Do you want to travel overseas with your family? Do you want to have the ability to take up a new sport? One guy, he's a young buck actually, who I'm mentoring. He's 24 years old and he is a superstar. Do you know what he wanted to do with this? Like when we had this conversation, he wanted to get really good at calligraphy. So he's actually employed a Japanese calligrapher, and they are using one of his spare walls, and he is learning the art of Japanese calligraphy. That is his hot button. Who knew? I certainly didn't. Who would have even expected that? But for him, he has decorated one wall of his house, learning his skill. He's going to paint over it with white and go again, because he wants to get better and better and better. And that can be done. That can be done. You use the market as your vehicle to explore the lifestyle that you want. You picture that lifestyle first and foremost in your mind, so that it is crystal clear, so that if somebody shook you at 3 a.m. and said, "What do you want in life?" you would say, "I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this." You've got to get that vision so elaborate and so detailed, with all of your senses involved. So what are the sights you see? What are the smells that you smell when you're living that life? And then backward scaffold your way into achieving that goal. And I think that works the best. Keeps your motivation up. If you think you're going to quit, it gives you something to say, hang on, I'd better not quit, because that's what I want.
Okay. Absolutely. And I think that's important, because a lot of times people can go into trading or other type of online businesses and stuff as well, purely for the money, and that's it. And then I feel like they quit within 3 months because they haven't made the money, they haven't made the profits. And I feel like they're just doing it for the money. They don't have this higher purpose or this higher calling or vision that is going to get them through to the end. And this brings up to a good little segue that's actually in your book, one of the parts I loved, which was mastery goals. Tell us about mastery goals and how that backlinks to this conversation we're having right now.
Yes, mastery goals. I do feel these are the most pure type of goal for everybody in the markets. So I'll just backstep a little bit and talk about approach goals and avoidance goals and why they're interesting as well. So, an approach goal is where you're looking to achieve something for the joy of achieving it. Now, that can be fantastic. An avoidance goal is you're looking to achieve something because you're scared that if you don't, bad things will happen. So you're trying to avoid the consequences if you don't achieve that goal that could very well happen to you. So I think of Alison Felix, who is an amazing track and field athletic genius. The first time that she won a gold medal, the reason why she won it is because she said, I just have to win it because I don't want to be silver again. So that was an avoidance goal. When she flipped that with her coaches and she made it an approach goal, I want to win the gold medal because this will mean so much to my life and I want to be a role model for other women and my daughter. That is the next level of game, if you think of it as a big game. But you know, when she flipped it again to a mastery goal, which is I want to be knowledgeable about every area of this. I want to master this skill. I want to have it so within my every pore that I understand every facet, that I know how to play this game. And if it is a game, that I understand every single rule and I am creating the rules. It's like you're the conductor of the orchestra. Now, with trading, I think mastery goals are so important, Daniel, because so many traders are just little robots, which I love too, because they're trying to mechanically follow their system. But it's no good if you're not looking for that higher purpose. At the first sign of trouble, you won't stick it out. And if you don't have those rules internalized so that you really fully understand the rules of the market and how the market behaves, once a presidential election comes across, why would the market go up? If you're mastering the market, you'll have your answers. And I think that that is something that is almost like, you know, in careers, how you can have a job where you're going through the motions. You can have a career where you're the master of your own destiny to some extent, but you can also have a calling. And a calling is the thing that you must achieve at all costs. It is the thing within you that is saying, my gosh, get out of bed at 4 a.m. to swim those laps. It is the thing that is driving you, but almost like somebody else is pulling your strings because it's so big. Your community could be the thing pulling your strings. You want to earn money so that you can have loans that you can actually continue going through in your community, like Opportunity International with philanthropy, where their financing goals, they loan money to a group in that community. That group of people that they loan money to, they pay it back 97% of the time because they know that money will be rejigged and given to another person, maybe their cousin. So that's calling. That is something that is the utopian goal, I think, that we should all be aiming for. What is the thing that is really dragging you towards success? What's the golden thread between where you are now and where you want to be? And how is that going to keep you going towards your goals? So I think mastery goals are really the key. And I think they're the key for all high performance endeavors, whether it is athletics, whether it is philanthropy, whether it is the markets. Having a calling and being able to want to master the specifics so that you can create your own destiny and that you can know the rules and make the rules. There's almost no higher way of operating.
I'm with you. That's why it stuck out to anything with. Mastery is one of my highest values, and that's why. This podcast is called Money Mastery, isn't it? So
I know,
that kind of jumped
I'm
out
loving
to me.
it.
Yeah, it jumped out to me, and I feel the other thing as well is I mean, I didn't know I had that value of mastery when I first started my journey. And I feel like your vision, your purpose, your calling, mission evolves over time. Because when I first started my journey, it was literally, I didn't want to work in this job anymore and I wanted to be financially free. That was just it was the first idea I fell in love with. And then through that, I kind of found my calling and all the pieces started to link up together. So I feel like if someone's listening to this right now, it's okay if you don't know your mission or your purpose right now, but you just need that one idea, that something to grab onto that is bigger than just making some money in the short term if you really want to go down a new path. Well, that's been my experience anyway, Louise.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. The people that are often the ones that give up in the stock market are the ones that after they've done some training, they come out into a bull market and they think that just the money is dripping off the trees and they just have to walk under and confetti will come down and it's actually dollars that they can grab onto.
Yeah.
Actually, they're the ones who quit. So I do find it fascinating with human behavior. You know, I've got degrees in psychology and business, and I often run my beautiful traders through mazes, basically, as if they're like my test subjects, just to find out how do people think about the markets. And in my mentor program, what do my top traders do to achieve those results? And it comes down to a few different aspects. It comes down to your trading system, of course, that's important, but it also comes down to your psychology about how you run that system, how you interpret those signals and how it impacts your body. So often, even in the markets now, if I've made a loss and I wasn't quite expecting it, I can feel it in my body. I can feel it rise up like a cobra in my belly. Wow, here we go. You know, it's like a threat. And over the years, I've come to view that little cobra as being a friend. It is trying to keep me safe. Its fangs are not bared for my self-harm. Its fangs are bared because it senses a threat and it's trying to protect me. So becoming aware of your own signals, I think, is so important. And then also making friends with those signals. You know, my little cobra is actually quite a cute little guy. He's got big eyes and he's got cute little shiny fangs and he's barely ever available. But when he's there, it helps me understand. It helps me realize that something outside of me is actually reacting and it's physical. Now, Daniel, to be open with you, I never used to tell people about that because I thought that's a negative. I thought bad traders had that. They shouldn't react emotionally at all. But actually, the studies show if you can interpret your own body signals and you can be aware of it. I mean, I've gone further to name my little reaction as a cobra.
Yeah, I like how you've done that. Yeah.
I've never even told anybody. You were a good question, Daniel. I haven't actually said about my cobra before. So yeah, I do think if you can make friends with it, then you are on the track to being able to help yourself and to notice your signals. You know, as well, all of these things, they're caveman impulses, aren't they? No? Trying to keep us safe. I was in a car park one time going to my car and it was very late at night and I'd got separated from my husband-to-be, who's my husband now, and I got to my car and I tried to put my key in the door. It's that long ago, Daniel, where keys actually used to have to go in the door to turn to be able to open the car door. Those days, yes. And I couldn't get my key in. And all of a sudden I sensed that there was somebody behind me. Now, my cobra, I hadn't even named him at that stage, but there was a cobra in my belly. And I turned around and I beat the living crud out of the person behind me because I don't know what he was going to do, but he was standing right up close and I shoved the palm of my hand right up through his nose and further into his brain and I got blood all over me. Oh my gosh.
Don't mess with Louise.
Terrifying. It was terrifying. But my cobra kept me safe. My cobra did. It knew that there was a person behind me and that I was in danger. So maybe we shouldn't block down some of those bodily reactions. Maybe we should actually listen to them and interpret them and make friends with them.
I love that as well, because I feel like our body tells us so much useful information. And I'm curious to know, like, your black cobra. Thank you for sharing with us as well. Like, when did you actually give this fear, this internal signal, the name?
Yeah, that's a really good question too, because I lost my voice for a couple of years, completely lost my voice. I couldn't make a sound. And I think during that time, it gave me a lot of time to think about things that were really important. It was a horrid time. It was horrendous, Daniel. I'm not even making light of it because it was black as. But I did name my voice issue Wilbur. Okay, Wilbur's a little blobfish, and my goal was to make sure Wilbur was relaxed. So he was calm and he's in my throat and everything's relaxed, because the more relaxed I could be, the more chance I had of getting my voice back, which has taken years. So around that time, that's when I actually named it as a cobra. I'd noticed it before, but I hadn't quite made friends with it. So I think it's quite interesting. Become aware, notice, and that's the first step towards mindfulness.
I love that. I love it. What I really enjoy about this is that a lot of times I feel like these parts of us that we maybe don't like so much, like this cobra potentially before, sometimes we might want to hide it in the shadows or feel shame or guilt or whatever it is around it. But rather than banishing that part of us, which is a useful part of us, it's about owning it and accepting it and becoming friends with it, because within that part of us, there's also a superpower or a gift within it, which you've obviously found that when that black cobra comes up, it's actually a good thing, because it's telling you useful information about, what to do and how to behave.
Yeah, it really is. I think a lot of us underestimate what we actually know and our potential. And it's just a travesty. I'm middle-aged now, and I think back to when I was your age, Daniel. And I just want to encourage everybody that there's so much further that you can go. There are so many more things that you can learn. Every year, you can learn more and more, and you can take on more and more. You can be more, you can do more, you can have more. And those caps that we put on ourselves, those self-limiting beliefs, it can really foul you up. The people that are the most boring to hang out with are the ones that think they're the same now as they were last year, as they will be in the next year. They are boring as heck, and we don't want to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Louise, I'm really curious to know something, because you've been a very successful trader, and you're also a very successful, writer and businesswoman as well. From your experience, what do you feel is a more valuable skill set to learn, trading or selling? Because they're both ways to make more money, both super high value skill sets. I'm curious to know, if you could only choose one, or if you would suggest for someone to start with one, what would it be?
Oh my gosh, I'm going to shock you with this one. Selling. Okay. Because the first thing that you have to do is to sell your own ideas to yourself. If you can't persuade yourself that you need to go in a particular direction, you're not going to go in that direction. You've got to start with being incredibly persuasive for number one, you.
Okay, so you've got to sell yourself first. So selling is the most important one.
I think so, because once you can, it means that you can conquer any area. I mean, for me, trading, it was convenient because I could do it from home, and it meant I could be a full-time mother, and it meant I could bring my husband home from his job and be a full-time father. So we've got to raise our two beautiful daughters together and never miss anything. And that to me was incredibly important. But if it wasn't trading, and it could have been, I don't know, if I could have done it with macrame, I would have done it with macrame. Trading's just a vehicle. It is a vehicle to achieve the things that are really important to you. And number one is mindset. So if you've got the right mindset, you'll be able to conquer any area. And I know there are physical limitations. I understand that sometimes there are things that you're not going to be able to do. Like, I don't think I could do an Alison Felix now and become an Olympic phenomenon. But within reality, you can do the majority of things you set your mind to do. It's just a matter of the focus that you bring to it, which is driven from your values, which is driven from your mastery goals as well.
I love that. I love that. Well, I mean, we're talking a lot about mindset and psychology, and I feel like let's dive deeper into some of the concepts from your book, Investing Psychology Secrets, because I love this topic as well, and I feel like, no matter what skill set you have, if you don't have the mindset and the psychology to go with it, you're never going to become successful in whatever your pursuit is. And one of, I guess, the core themes in the mindset piece of your book is the money scripts that we have running in us. And there's 4 different types. So I'd love to dive into these money scripts so that we can understand how these are affecting us in our trading and investing and business journeys.
Yes. Oh, Daniel, I am so excited to tell you that I actually interviewed on my podcast, talkingtrading.com.au, I actually interviewed Dr. Brad Klontz. He is the guy behind these money scripts.
Okay.
What an honor, what an absolute honor to interview the world's leading psychologist in this specific area. So Dr. Brad Klontz, so he came up with different money scripts that guide our behavior. Now, according to Brad and even other professionals in the industry, that our own money scripts are derived from the people who we knew as kids, the adults in our life, the people who had power over us, so that we had to listen to what they were saying, but we also had to listen to not only the conscious things they were telling us, save your pocket money, be good to your sister, but we also had to listen to the unconscious things that we were absorbing as a kid at the top of the stairs, listening to mum and dad fight about there's not enough money for the mortgage. We had to absorb both lessons and not even realize that we were taking them in. So that's the basis of money scripts. And I'll take you through potential things that could highlight some safety officer issues in your life. So I think of my internal safety officer as being that part of me that is trying to keep my body and my mind safe. Now, sometimes I have to question my safety officer and I can say, well, look, I know you're feeling unsafe because yes, I'm going to be speaking on stage and there's 500 people looking at me, but please, safety officer, just hold your views to yourself. Just tuck them under that group of people there, under their chairs. Down you go.
I like how you name them all, chairs. Louise. It's brilliant how you add these little labels to these parts of you that can be a hindrance at times.
Yeah, well, look, I do find my safety officer does try to help. It's not against me, but it can actually be misguided, and I have to just shut it up from time to time. So I just imagine it dissolving. Down it goes, and then it ends up on the floor. And I say, you can reconstitute yourself as soon as I'm ready. So I've got this. You can trust me. Yeah. So let's talk about those money scripts. So the first one is money avoidance. So money avoidance, it's where people with this script, they believe that money is bad. Now, sometimes it can be linked with a religious upbringing. Sometimes it can be that there's some awful situation in your family background that the rich person avoided all of you, and then you don't want to be like that rich person. You want to actually love your family. Therefore, you can't be like that rich person, which means you can't have money, because if you get money, you will actually have to leave your family. Okay, so there's lots that go into this script. So if you think back into your own life, is there somebody there that has taught you this, either consciously or subconsciously? And you don't have to answer me, because I know it's incredibly something that will take time to tweak out. But just to start thinking in this direction. And then money worship is another area. So people with this believe that money will solve all of life's problems. Oh gosh. So if only I won Hats Lotto, I would be just fine. This would be fixed. Yes. That would be fixed. They overwork. They sometimes overspend, thinking that if they can just get the right hot car, they're going to pick up the best chick, right? They are the ones that relate, unfortunately, money with self-worth. And that is a very dangerous equation. Now, the other one is money status. Now, money status is where a lot of people are right now. I'm feeling in society. I mean, it's really hard to get the exact figures on this. I think we're blends of them all. So they try to impress others. They flash money around. I mean, it's the type of person when you go out to lunch with them, they say, no, I'll pay. I will take this bill and I will hand over my gold Amex. They are the ones that show more than experience. They like the flashy houses, the flashy cars. They will tell you that they are going skiing in Aspen maybe 500 times in the conversation. Yes, we've seen them on Facebook, haven't we? We've seen them on Instagram.
Of course, it's everywhere.
They're out there, absolutely. So I do think this is something we have to be careful because FOMO can creep in to people displaying this. And I have to say, I know a lot of very, very wealthy traders, and the ones that are the wealthiest are never so flashy and showy. They just are not.
Yes.
If you're seeing somebody posing over the top of their Lamborghini, you've got to wonder, are they actually making money? Frankly, that's my thought. And I want to talk about the final one. And this is the one that I struggle with. Okay, so I'm going to be really open with you here. This is money vigilance. Now, money vigilance, this is where there's a strong focus on being financially secure. You have, unfortunately, a bit of a scarcity mindset. Often people who've been brought up with not enough money, maybe there wasn't enough food, maybe there weren't enough warm clothes in winter. That is the breeding ground for money vigilance. We grew potatoes out in the backyard because potatoes seem to grow and grow and grow, and you can never really dig them all up. And when we were hungry, we dug up the potatoes. Now, how does this translate to my life now? I have so many boxes of cereal, it is almost a little manic. Because to me, cereal.
What's your favourite cereal?
Look, do you know I'm doing chia seed pudding now? I've made a complete break with cereal, but I still love the display of those boxes of cereal because to me that spells opulence and wealth. We had cornflakes growing up. That was it. So
that's super interesting that, literally having the cereal is like a wealth cue or prosperity cue for you because of the lack of when you're I found that fascinating.
It is, and I know it is. I know it is because when the number of cereals dies down, because you know how much cereal can a person really eat? I actually feel I feel nervous. I feel agitated. It makes me not want to sit still. I'm like, there's something wrong here. So I think knowing what I know now about my stumbling block of scarcity thinking and money vigilance, that actually has been really useful because in business, we need to spend money. As a trader, you need to buy a charting package. You need to have investment in your own education. You need to buy some books, maybe even pay for a mentor. These are things that are almost mandatory because you can go about your business without all of those things, but it's probably going to take you 10 years longer. So you're trading off time for money and what's more important to you. For you, it could be, hey, I'm prepared to do the time here. But actually, when you look at it, time is money. So you could actually speed along your process just by making a few non-scarcity mindset investments in you, in yourself. So in summary, those money scripts are so important. Knowing exactly where you're at with your own money script, understanding the positives and the negatives. I mean, the positives are that I'm future focused and I look at what I can do to bring money into the household and that I am the rainmaker. I am the breadwinner. I am the one who controls my family's financial future. And frankly, I make sure that my children understand the importance of that. So it has got benefits, yes, but it also has some of the negatives of overworking and sometimes freaking out that there might not be enough cereal in the cupboard.
Gotcha. Okay. So for the four money scripts, so there was the avoidance, vigilance, worship, and status. I'm just trying to think of like which one I would. I feel like for me, I've definitely had some of the vigilance there. Like definitely saving and stuff has been a big one, and maybe frugal when I was younger. I had to really learn how to let go of that and spend it, and then probably potentially the worship at times as well. I reckon, like potentially wanting to see money grow, to grow and to build wealth. I reckon I've had that too. But I feel like they all sound a little bit negative or unresourceful. So what I'm really curious to know from your perspective, Louise, is how do we flip these scripts and build a more resourceful relationship with money and building wealth?
Yeah. Isn't that the core here? I mean, it's one thing to be aware of our weaknesses, but I've often found that it's better to build on my strengths rather than try and accommodate my weaknesses. I've got like 5 million weaknesses that I'm not prepared to do anything about. Like in the markets, I'm probably the world's worst coder. So coding is so that you can identify a scan that says, I want this and that and this in the scan, so it can shortcut your process. So knowing that I'm just so crud at that, I actually find people who are good at that and I befriend them. I'm not a domestic goddess, pretty lousy in the kitchen, but every one of my friends is an exceptional cook. Every single one. So I think it's a matter of finding out the areas that you're challenged in, working out whether do you want to work on those specifics, or do you want to actually just continue working on your strengths and staff your weaknesses. That, I think, is an underestimated aspect of success. The ability to be able to flip things out of your life that you don't want to do or that you can't be bothered with or that you don't want to master, but to prioritize on the things that you do want. I love that. I think that that's so important.
I love that. And what it reminds me of from your book also, which was a piece I really enjoyed, was the question in one of the later chapters, what's your currency? And I feel like that's about understanding what your strengths are and what your value is to the world. So tell us more about what your currency is, what that means, and how our listeners can actually benefit from this key perspective piece.
Yes, your currency is an interesting one. It came to me one time I was training this, oh my God, she was practically a supermodel. It was when I trained people in my own home, and she had it all together. She had the hair, she had the body, she had the clothes. And I was training her in how to trade. And she said to me, the thing is, my pilot husband gives me $16,000 every month to spend on myself. And he also gave me his superannuation to trade, and there's barely any of it left. Can you help me? Oh, gosh. My love, I don't even know where to begin. She said to me that you don't understand the plight of a beautiful woman. So, no, she's right. I don't fully understand what she was going through, but I can guess that she didn't actually have her own safety officer. I can also guess that she had no cobra inside her waking up to tell her that there's some fear here. Let's make some action happen so that you don't blow the entire superannuation of your husband. Her currency was her looks. It was very singular. She clearly was on top of a depreciating asset, because how long can you trade on your looks for? Eventually, that's going to catch up with her. So what is your currency? What is the thing that you value and that the world puts as a value that you can actually harness and use? Is your currency developing mastery goals around money, like our Daniel here? Is it something to do with relationships and family? Is that what your priority is in your currency? Is it something to do with being able to be a really great breadwinner so that you can open doors for people and you can allow them to have experiences and that you can give? I think determining what your priorities and your currency is to the world can really make a difference as to how you go about your everyday life. How much time do you put into things? How much effort do you put into things? Because that is your currency. And for the love of goodness, don't make your currency your looks, because they are going to dissolve. One day, I remember my grandmother waking up. she was a beautiful, beautiful woman. She was on the stage and she had men literally throwing themselves at her when she was younger. And she said, one day I became invisible. Ooh. So you don't want your currency to be something superficial. Make your currency something at your core that really is personally meaningful to you.
I love that. And I feel like your currency almost seems like your wealth code. Like if you can really understand what your currency is, the value or the gift that you have to share with the world, whether it's a skill set or a character attribute that you have, I feel like that's the way that you can develop your path to money mastery or to wealth building. Because, Louise, I've talked to so many people on this podcast, and I know there are so many different ways that people can become successful and build wealth and become financially free, whatever it is for them. And I really enjoy extracting that from different people, just so that people can see that, hey, it's not one size fits all. It's about finding your own currency and then doubling down on that to create value and wealth in your life.
Yeah, I love that. And the thing with this as well, Daniel, is that your currency isn't just around money. Your currency, your personal currency, is around people and being able to shine lights into their blind spots. And you're also taking an open hand where you're saying, come with me. Come with me. And that, I think, if we worked on that together a little bit, we'd be able to define it and make it into a succinct sentence or two. So this could be a nice piece of homework for you, Daniel. I'll give you perhaps one of my sentences that is related to my currency. It's to inspire others by leading by example. Right? So if we think of what that means, firstly, I've had to achieve, because nobody's going to want to follow somebody if they haven't actually achieved that. So the by example thing is very, very important to me. I'm not going to go into an area that I'm not familiar with and to try and inspire, because that wouldn't sit with me from a congruency point of view. That wouldn't sit very well. But the inspiration part means that I want a community. I want people around me. My mentorees that I've trained for the last 25 years in my mentor program, they are my community. I've been able to look into their hearts and say, what is it that you want to achieve? And to bring them with me, to take their best qualities and to emphasize those best qualities so that they can achieve in the markets. And that is very pure to me. That to me is very much a guiding force in my life, to inspire others by leading by example. And I would guess that that is one of my main currencies. I'm always discovering more things about myself though, but that one in particular has held since I wrote it down when I was 19.
There you go. Okay, that's been a shining light on your. Oh, I'm curious. You said it's always evolving. You're finding new gifts and currencies that you have. What's been the most recent, currency that you've found within yourself that's quite valuable?
Do you know, because I had that situation from a health perspective, my most recent currency is finding people with other health perspectives and helping them get off government handouts. I bloody love it. Okay. I've got people with disabilities teamed up with other people with the same disability, and I've got their occupational therapists talking to each other. So, cool. For example, one of the people that I've trained, he had a tree felling business. He fell out of a tree and his best friend who was driving the tractor ran over his head. So this poor man has had 32 operations because he's lacking his skull on one side of his head. It squashed him. So he has specific struggles because he's got a very specific brain injury. And one of the things he found is that every emotion is very close to the surface. If he feels happy, oh my gosh, the stars are shining down on him and he's dancing around naked in his backyard, literally. If he's sad, there are tears and there's anger and there's very close to the surface emotions. So he struggled getting out of bed in the morning because a lot of people with brain injuries need a lot of sleep. And he found an alarm with the occupational therapist that just glowed gently and then brightened up the room. It wasn't a sound. It wasn't a negative radio station. It wasn't music, which he found particularly jarring because he's got these sensitivities. It was a gentle, warm light. Now, to help the occupational therapist find this light for this gentleman who I care for deeply and who is trading and who has got a beautiful heart and has got a big trading goal, to find that light with the occupational therapist so that we could bounce ideas off each other. Oh, Daniel, that was just as thrilling as the biggest profit that I've ever made in the markets. It means so much to me, and tapping into and allowing those feelings, because I think you can see what I'm saying, that finding a light is significant. But if I just say to the average person, finding that light meant a lot to me, they'll just go, what the hell, Gosh, it doesn't resonate with them. But now that you know more about me and you can see how in line with my values that is, I think that perhaps gives you more of a rounded picture. It's not just money that gives me my kicks.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I feel like, what you shared there, like the most fulfilling thing you can do, it's not about, making a bigger profit or more money, or it's more about when you're helping someone and you're being in service. Nothing is more fulfilling than being in service and helping someone else with the problem that they've had, which is exactly what you've described there. Which is
absolutely powerful. And trading by itself won't do it for you. The best traders are the ones, especially from my mentor program, I get to really grill people and find out where they're at and what they want. Trading, just for trading's sake, just bringing money into your bank account without an awareness of what that money can do, what that will bring to your life, to the people around you, to the people who are in need, who may need you to provide money. I think it's empty and flat and colourless, and it won't drive you on.
Absolutely. Now, Louise, this book, Investing Psychology Secrets, obviously it's written specifically for traders and investors. But I also feel, as I was reading through this, I'm an investor, I'm also a businessman as well. It's very useful for people that are in any type of business, because as I was reading this book, I was going through a few challenging times myself, and a lot of the stuff was kind of hitting home for me. And I was like, this is really transferable to business as well. All of these psychology pieces in this book, and there's a particular piece which we might kind of finish on here today. A couple of things here, and one of them was, is it the Kafka effect or the Kafka effect?
The Kafka
Tell us about
effect.
That. Yeah, tell us about that.
This is an interesting effect. It is, have you ever been just on the brink of achieving your goal and then you want to give up? Oh, what that is, it's the Kafka effect. And if you can name what the effect is, you can detooth it. You can take away its power. The Kafka effect is that type of fog that sets into place just before you achieve a significant goal. Now, I've felt this many times. I feel this with every book I write. So I've written the 6 books and I've had several other editions of those. So in total, there's probably about 10 times that I've gone through the book writing procedure. And just before I'm ready to hand in the manuscript, the thought bubble occurs to me every time. It's laughable every single time. I go, ooh, maybe I don't need to do this. Who would really be interested? Maybe I'm not smart enough, successful enough. Maybe people don't want to hear from me what I have to say. Every single time. With my first book, Trading Secrets, that was a bit of a okay, I've got this because I'd done the 2 before. Trading Secrets is where you should start. That really should be book number 1. But with that one, that was where I noticed it. I went, heck, this is something that people need. People need to know how to get into, out of, and position size with their shares. trading secrets is needed in the world, would you shut up, Louise? This safety officer is not doing a good job here. It is trying to get you to shrink instead of expand. It's not getting you to be confident and say, this is worthwhile. It's getting you to say, with the Kafka effect, you need to stay small. And I notice it now with almost every major goal. Have you noticed that, Daniel? Have you felt that before, that you've almost given up just before the achievement of something significant?
Yeah, 100%. That's guys, I feel like I was maybe feeling some of that myself when I was reading that, and that's maybe why I highlighted that page, because it kind of reminds me of that story from Think and Grow Rich, the 3 feet from gold. I feel like it's a similar vein. Like you're putting in all this work into whatever you're doing, and sometimes maybe the results aren't there or how you'd like them to be, and you do, those doubts, they creep in. Like, am I doing the right thing? Am I good enough to do this? Like, why isn't anything happening? And then I guess not far away is the breakthrough, and that's what I was thinking about when I was reading that particular the Kafka effect. Is it the Kafka?
Kafka.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kafka.
Yes, exactly. And if you are feeling that, it means that you are seconds away from greatness. So once you hear that, once you feel that, once it gets into your body and even sometimes your dreams, if you find yourself self-limiting in that way, just know with a bit of an extra push, just that bit of an extra foot on the accelerator, you are likely to achieve well past what you thought was your previous potential. This can open the lid. Once you are at this next level, you can see further towards the next level up as well. So I think that leapfrogging aspect of life, it is just so pure. Don't listen to your own stuff going on inside your head when it's trying to limit you. And Daniel, I hope you can take that on, because I just love what you do. I love what you do on LinkedIn, where I think I've just learned so much more about you. I love what you do with Money Mastery, with your podcast, and you're brave. You've made a complete career change. You have done something that so few people have done, but almost everybody talks about doing. So take courage. And everybody that is listening, I'm talking to you specifically because there are areas that you can achieve, and Daniel can help you get there. And I would love to help you get there too. Come and visit me at talkingtrading.com.au. That's my podcast. Yes, it talks about trading and investing. And if you're already in the markets, or if you'd like to be, come to tradinggame.com.au. You can pick up my free trading plan template. We can stay in touch, tradinggame.com.au.
Brilliant, Louise. Well, thank you so much for the validation and the acknowledgement there as well. Thank you for sharing your gifts and wisdom and experience with us today as well. And I'll make sure I drop all these links in the show notes here as well, because you've got so many valuable tools and pathways for people to learn more about you. But Louise, what would be the best place for people to start following more about you and your journey if they've enjoyed what you're about?
Well, definitely pick up my books as well. But really, I would go to tradinggame.com.au. Come to my website, download your free trading plan template. You'll get a free e-course as well. It's just a short little course of 5 different parts to introduce you to the markets, get your head in the right place, but also give you some specific strategies so that you can start making money out of the markets. That's the best place, because then we'll be able to stay in touch.
All right, brilliant, Louise. I'll pop that in the show notes, but I just want to thank you again for being an incredible guest, for coming on the show, and I wish you all the wealth and prosperity and good health for the coming 12 months, and can't wait to see what your next book's going to be as well, because I'm sure you've got a few more in you.
Thanks so much, Daniel. You're a superstar. I've loved it.